It's going to be a good video. Hey everybody, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic, and welcome back. It's going to be a good video today. We are talking about, well, let me start with the introduction, of course. We are doing the 2026 draft recap, and today we're talking about the Washington Commanders. And the reason why I'm so excited is not because we're talking about the Washington Commanders. No. We're talking about them because it's one of the small draft classes. Because sometimes in life we must make drastic decisions. And some decisions, believe it or not, oops, I messed up my hat. Fix that. There we go. And some decisions, well, maybe the term quality versus quantity might work in this favor. Or we are preparing for the inevitable that maybe Jaden Daniels was a one-hit wonder. Just saying. Let's talk about the Commanders. So, one of the biggest things about the Commanders that I keep hearing is that the Commanders are one of the oldest rosters. They have one of the oldest, player personnel. And when Daniels kept getting hurt a little too consistently, I was fearing that, and this was my fear. The same fear I had with Richardson. Not really. It was more of a Teddy Bridgewater kind of S. I was feeling like he's just not built for the league. As much as I want to admit that he's talented. But man, maybe we kind of covered up a lot of our flaws because Daniels can make up for it. And it won't be the first time that Washington drafted a quarterback who won the Heisman and did great and then got hurt and just never came back. But that was under Dan Snyder. This can't be it. Unless it is the field. Maybe the field is cursed. Maybe you need to fix the field, is what I'm trying to get at. Fix the field. So for Washington fans out there, and I know a few, some very local, so I'm sure they'll be taking much gracious, and constructive understanding of my criticism of their team. Last year was a disappointment. Suck it up, Buttercup, it's true. Last year was such a disappointment, and you probably put a little bit too much emphasis on your young quarterback. And it snapped. Multiple times. And some literally snapped. And now we are here with a lot of questions of, I thought when we got Dan Quinn, a defensive-minded coach, the defense will be lit. It wasn't, or not as we wanted to, because we still did a lot. We still did a lot of Commanders, Washington Redskins-esque things. We got players way past their prime, thinking, we'll be fine. We just throw money at it, saying like Dan Snyder used to do. So I guess maybe we have not learned from ourselves, but. Like I said, you have a very small draft class, so I'm looking at the positives. And with the hopes of a lot of your players coming back from injuries, that last year was a fluke, and you'll be fine. And I think you did the right choice. And some, very much like other teams, sometimes the best player you needed falls right in your lap. So, with the 7th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders selected Sonny Styles, linebacker, The Ohio State. This was a player that I was surprised he went this low 7th. Because there's a small part of me he would have been top 5. It was either Tennessee, the Jets, the Giants. Like, I just felt like he was the Cardinals. He was going to go somewhere. But then he literally fell in the laps of the Commanders. The Commanders, in my humblest opinion, I was thinking they need youthful energy. And Sonny Styles' combine was so well received and so praised for worthy that I feel like whatever team he's gonna go for, that's gonna be the face of that, at least the defensive side for the next 10 years. He was gonna be like the Urlacher with Chicago, the Bobby Wagner in, funny coincidentally enough, in Seattle, the Levante David in Tampa Bay, the Luke Kuechly of Carolina. Like that was going to be the identity of the Commanders. Will be him. And this is a nitpick, but I've always find appreciation when some of our young gentlemen come into league and they, embrace, the responsibility, but also don't come off as I'm your savior. And I think I saw a video of Sonny Styles rocking 52 at a Washington camp. Let me take a look at that. I think he's Washington. Yeah, they have him wearing number 52. I still see. I mean, I see it at NFLShop.com. Um, I've always appreciated when players wear numbers because normally you think a player will come in and try to find a number that's a little more like, presentable and stylish. Maybe try to go for a single digit or something. But it went with 52. Cool. Cool. It's kind of nice to see, linebackers wearing 50s again. Make 50s great again. That sounds like a senior citizen speed dating website. Make 50s great again. Whatever. I mean, that's why I wear the 8-9 because I think numbers in the 80s are not just for tight ends. They're for all wide receivers, but very rarely do I see them being heavily, accepted among the youthfulness. Most of the time they go single digits or teens. It's sadly disappointing. God, I'm old. Anyway, so they got probably the best possible. My only concern is I saw a lot of praises for Simmons from Clemson that went to Arizona. That was so versatile that they couldn't find a spot for him. I feel like Sonny Styles is such a he is such a supercharged player that rush, coverage, whatever, he has it. And my thought is that when this season's over, they'll still be like, we have not even scratched the surface of this young man's potential. This to me is such a big impact. It literally tells everyone else on the offensive side of the ball in their division, yeah, don't count us out. Do not, no. Especially if Styles plays well, not just as a rookie, but just plays well, learn fundamentals, knows coverage schemes, learns and adapts. Watch. And then they did nothing for a while. Nearly, whew, no, wow, a lot of picks later. We go to the third round. With the 71st pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders selected Antonio Williams, wide receiver, Clemson. Now, for the longest time, I feel like the Commanders have neglected the number 2 wide receiver department. And that's not just me saying, I feel like that has been addressed for probably a few years now. Terry McLaurin has been so phenomenal that it just feels kind of like what the Denver Broncos had with Courtland Sutton. They just felt like we really need a number 2, and then they actually got Waddle, so they kind of addressed it. But still, it's just that feeling that in today's NFL is no longer one running back, one tight end, one wide receiver. You almost everyone needs a number 2. Now, some number 2 could be just, great number 1 that just happen to be number 2. And some of them are just, you are meant as support. Your playing style is different from ours, but does not hinder the process of our team. And for Washington, I kind of felt like, yeah, they needed. Now, a lot of it was covered up because of Daniels. He was able to make lemonade out of very low amount of lemons. So maybe kind of hindered it because a lot of quarterbacks can succeed with B+ wide receivers and don't need all the caliber. But sometimes you kind of at least do. Now, do I think Antonio Williams coming in is defended number 2? No, but you got a hard time telling me that he's projected to be. Antonio Williams is a 5'11", 187-pound wide receiver. He's ranked 10th in his position. He has an 81 overall grade. To me, he's a solid slot receiver, and I think that's where they're going to put him. Luke McCaffrey, I feel, is going to get a lot more playing time. Look at you got Tyler Burks, the former Tennessee guy. That's a terrible pick. And then Terry, of course, there. Recently, the Commanders got, former Buccaneer Rashad White in free agency, which it was heavily implied he was going to go there too, who I believe is just as talented as a receiver as any running back you need. He's the bigger guy. And I feel like Rashad White might be utilized a lot more in Washington than in Tampa because Rashad had to compete with Tucker and Bucky and then Mbuka and then, of course, Godwin and Evans. Rashad White might have a much less talented pool that they have in Tampa. So, like I said, opportunities galore for this offense. And if Antonio takes care of it, he'll get his chances too. Then we go to the 5th round. With the 147th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders selected Joshua Joseph. Edge, Tennessee. Joseph. I don't know. It sounds different in my head. Joseph. Eh. So, I feel like Sonny Styles is going to be like a dagger. He maybe a more intellectual Devin White. Because I don't be surprised if Sonny Styles has like 6 sacks because on blitz coverages or blitz coverage. Like I don't be surprised if he does. But they needed a definitive edge. And I feel like for the while the Commanders, I mean, most of their defensive line in the past were former Alabama players that just eventually went off to it. And I feel like Washington hasn't really had a definitive good edge since Kerrigan from Purdue. I think it's, yeah. And oh, I'm drawing Rakpo. I think it's a Rakpo. I'm drawing blank on his name. But yeah, the Washington pass rush department has not been. And Chase Young was good his rookie season, and never again. Injuries be damned, sadly. So we'll see what they do here. They did get some free agency acquisitions to help out, so they're in the right direction. But right now, Joshua is currently viewed. Where are you, Joshua? Where they have you here? As the strong side linebacker behind recent acquisition from New England and Kavallon Cassion. So new faces and young players. So basically new faces, both as veterans and both as rookies. So this whole Commander team looked like they did free agency right, they did draft solid, and they're hoping that the injured player from last year come back stronger and prepared to move forward. So to me, this is another good acquisition. This doesn't feel like a stretch. This doesn't feel it. It's just the connection. It's just the waiting of let's assemble these pieces together. Then we go to the 6th round with the 187th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The Washington Commanders selected Kayton Allen, running back, Penn State. So, I think I mentioned it before about the two-headed monster of Penn State that I feel like last year's terrible season really took a lot of their draft status away. But was Singleton and Allen, these were the 1-2 punch of Penn State. To me, this was more of the heart and soul of the Nittany Lions than their defense, and of course, Drew Adler. Say what you want to say about him. But, like I said, they had a great success last year with Krosky Merritt, a late round pick who blossomed. They got Rashad White, who I feel will be the 3rd down back and the receiving back. And they got Allen, another in between, and then Jerome Ford. I think the running back department is full of potential, and they're all different. They're all different play styles. And I feel like Allen, say what you want to say. I feel like Allen is more of like your in between the tackles with thickness, kind of like a Maurice Jones-Drew, lowest center of gravity. Merritt is more of your the back. Rashad White is your power back and your, receiving back. And Ford is another downhill running back. In between the tackles, straight down the middle, and just powered way through. So they have plenty. They have plenty of players around to assemble this. And it's just it's almost exciting to be like, how are they going to utilize these very talented players? Some of them are still, even Rashad White, so you want to say, he only played in Tampa since he was drafted. So we'll see how much he can do. And I think Rashad White with Bucky proved that he can take the load and move forward. Don't make that gross. Then in the sixth round, still with a 209th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders selected Matt Gulbin, center, Michigan State. Usually, when you hear teams draft a center, is communication between the quarterback and the center, because that's going to be that's your first line of defense. That's your first protector. And then you see them getting him, and I'm looking right now. They still have their starting center, and Nick Algeretti, who was a seventh round pick in 2019 from Kansas City. So, you know, and he's funny enough. He's viewed as the starting center, but looking at him, he's labeled as a guard. So I'm gonna say, with a little bit more confidence, that maybe Matt is going to be the starter, but right now they're going to have Nick as the placeholder. Because the way that look, maybe Matt is just need time to develop. But basically, if Matt somehow, as the season goes on, becomes, I would not be surprised if he becomes the center. I mean, Nick was from Kansas and he was a seventh round pick. Matt is a sixth round pick. Round picks mean nothing if you can do the job. It's just necessary needs and when you're picked. So, Michigan State, it's a Big Ten school. You know how much I love my Big Ten offensive linemen coming from that school. So, bias be damned. Maybe Matt is meant to be the soon-to-be center this year, and probably be there sooner than later. We'll see how the season goes in training camp. Oh, of course. And then in the seventh round, the last pick for the Commanders, with a 223rd overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders selected. Athan Kalamakasmis, quarterback, Rutgers. I butchered that name really bad. But they did get another quarterback. Marcus Mariota is back, but we all know Mariota is clearly a backup. They did get Sam Hartman, a former quarterback from, I think, Wake Forest and Notre Dame, surprisingly. So my thought process is, and I'm putting conspiracy here, we all know that he's not coming in to replace Daniels, but God forbid injuries happen. They want a reliable backup, potentially, or someone that they can develop and be like, we're not expecting you. I mean, they're not trying to say we're trying to develop another Kirk Cousins over here, but we all know when RG3 went down, Kirk Cousins at times had to carry the load, and eventually he became the guy. And he's still the guy making that moolah. So my thought is that it's clearly development, but maybe a little bit more forced into it if Daniels, God forbid, gets hurt again. Mariota is an older gentleman compared to others. Same with Winston. They're still in the league, but they're just designated as backups. And if Marcus Yoda, there you go. If Mariota has to play more and the season starts looking south, maybe developing the young rookie might be the reason to say, let's see what we got here, because who knows, maybe he can save the season for when Daniels returns. And that is the Commanders draft class. Very small, very limited, and I made a long video. But the player I'm most excited about, y'all know what it is. It's Sonny Styles. I've been singing this guy's name as if I am his personal agent. I am his hype man. So obviously looking forward to seeing him go, because I'm telling you, he's an assassin. And he's wearing 52, so you're getting that like PTSD Ray Lewis vibes of a young linebacker coming in with a tenacity. Like I said, he may not get the C this year, but I would not be surprised if maybe next year he gets the captain seal in his chest. I would not be surprised. He's that type of leader. He was awarded the number 0 from Ohio State. That is something you can ask. You are awarded that number, because he was number 6, and he switched number 0 because he was awarded that number. That's like going to LSU and being awarded number 18, number 7. That is an honor of honors. You cannot ask for it unless you are, Leonard Fournette. But anyway, grade for the Commanders. You know I can't say contenders, but they are so much better. I can't say contenders, but I'm putting them at like a high better. This draft class, even the quarterback thing, I feel because of Daniel's injuries in the last year, I just felt like it derailed the entire season. And if Ethan can be some hope of successful or continuing the season with positivity, regardless how it ends, fine. But this team, the free agencies with these rookies and the hope of health of returning players, I can't say contenders, but they are so much better. And I'm hoping they are. And that is the Washington Commanders. We have one more team to go in the East. We're going to Dallas, Texas. Yeah, boy. All fields and conspiracies. Not really. It's just fun poking Jerry Jones. So, take that out of context. So, we'll conclude with the Dallas Cowboys, who I think did better than we thought, but we still have a lot of questions. And they got a lot of draft capital. And once again, they're obnoxious. We got to deal with it. But until next time, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you so very much for watching.